All right, great. So we have our bookmark all finished. We've bind off, and we've also used our tapestry needle to create that final knot. Now what we have to do is something called weaving in the ends. So you'll notice on either side of your bookmark you have these tails. And if we leave these exactly as they are, or if we cut them off, they unfortunately will potentially unravel in the work. And you'll end up with work that has holes in it or is unraveled. So what we need to do is we need to secure these ends within the fabric. And we do that by weaving them in or sewing them into the existing work. Now this kind of work where you've knit all the stitches is known as a garter stitch. So this is garter stitch or garter stitch fabric. And the way that we're going to weave the ends in is specific to this kind of fabric. When we learn later about other kinds of stitches and other kinds of fabric, there will be other ways to weave in the ends. Now I'm going to start with the end that I still have attached to my needle. And I'm using a darning needle or a tapestry needle. Mine has a curved end. Yours can also have a straight end. I like the curved end because it's useful to getting in between those stitches. It should also have a blunt point and an eye that's big enough for your yarn. All right, so when I'm looking at my fabric, you're going to notice that each individual row in my fabric has these stitches. Some stitches look like frowns and some stitches look like smiley faces. We're going to be working exclusively with the frowns. I'm taking my yarn and I'm going to just feed it through one of these rows. Then, looking at my row of yarn here, so I have this row or this ridge. It's actually, when you're working with garter stitch, every ridge is 2 rows of stitches. And we'll talk more about that in level 2. We have these frowny faces. Every frowny face, I'm going to just go into a frowny face, so a frown stitch, and then I'm looking down the row. I'm going to find the next frowny stitch, and I'm going to go back up through that frowny stitch. And this is effectively hiding your weaving in so that it's not noticeable in your work. Now I'm up, I'm going to find the next frowny face, and I'm going to go down into that frowny face. There we go. And I find the next frowny face. I go up through the frowny face. And then I see the last frowny face. I'm going to go down through that frowny face. Now if you want, you can always do an additional row. You go through until you feel like your end is secure. And you'll see that it's nicely hidden when we look at the fabric. It's nicely hidden in so that it's not as noticeable in our work. Once you feel like it's secure, and for me, I'm just going to go ahead and secure at the very end of my row. I'm not going to go right to the end. I'm not going to be really close when I cut my yarn. I'm going to give myself a tiny bit of slack. Not very much, but just a little bit so I'm not right on there. And I'm going to go ahead and just cut. Oh, let's try that again. There we go. And I can just smooth that down. And I don't want to cut it too close to the stitch because one, you might cut the stitch, and the other thing is that if your end is not secured within the stitch, it'll come right out, and then you'll end up with a little bit of a problem there. All right, so let's go ahead and do that again. So I have this other side. I'm going to use my needle, just thread it through my needle. I'm going to go just one row in. And this is just my personal preference. You could actually work with that starting row if you'd like, but I feel like it's more secure if I just go one row down. And I'm going to find all my frowny faces. So there's my first frowny face. And then I'm going to go back up through the next frowny face. And next frown, down, next frown, up, until I feel like it's secure. And again, I'm just going to go to the end of the row here. And then I'm just going to cut it, but not too close because I don't want to cut the stitch and I don't want it to go back through and unravel through the weaving. All right. So you have successfully woven in the ends, and now you have a lovely bookmark that you can use with the books that you check out from the Orange County Library System. Thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you in class soon.